Hi, are you having problems with being trolled or bullied online? Do you feel like you're being persecuted? Is your paranoia spiking because of comments on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and other places where they can comment? Even though you're doing something that you feel is meaningful or that you enjoy personally, and you don't feel that the comments that they're making are warranted? Okay, so I have to tell you a secret. This has been going on a very, very long time. Now, I have to admit, early in the days before the internet became a public thing, there wasn't a lot of this until we got to the point of large numbers of people being able to communicate asynchronously on what were called bulletin board systems, or BBSs. Um, Once it got to multi-line bulletin board systems and people could talk to each other in chat live, it became a bigger problem. It was one thing to try and upset somebody in a forum where it was a small number of people that were logging on every day. It was another thing when you're talking about dozens or hundreds or even thousands of people logging on to the same forum or chat and so on and so forth, all at the same time. So, you've had a great deal more anonymity, although in the early days, a lot of people used aliases. Still, the massive number of people that are on the internet now has really allowed for a lot of people to feel very comfortable to be toxic online. Some of these people are doing this because they have been abused to some degree or another, and they're taking out their anger on other people. Some people have internalized the abuse to the point where they now no longer, well, I shouldn't say no longer, they now believe that their abuser was right. They have internalized it, and therefore they will take that abuse and basically target people who are like what they used to be like, or exhibited traits that they were abused for. So a lot of bullies are like that. They have gotten to the point where they've been abused so much that they become the bully. They're still still may be a victim at home or wherever the bullying or abuse was occurring, but they are also going to go on and carry that into the world. So it's kind of like a disease; it spreads. Okay, because bullying victims in other places, like in schools, can someday end up becoming abusive people or bullies as well. Um, and that is a very difficult thing to overcome. Also, bullies and their victims both have a very high rate of suicide compared to the general population. So there are also people out there who they have very unpleasant personalities and they get pleasure out of upsetting other people. It gives them a sense of power. So they will get online and they will say things because they believe it'll trigger you and get a response out of you, and then they can just keep on trolling you and baiting you on and on and on and on until you're like crying and your life is a mess, and even you might kill yourself. And some of these would, that for them, that would be like a trophy. That'd be like the apex of their activity, is to be able to actually get somebody to kill themselves. So some of these people are in a way, they're very much like a stalker, in that the more you respond to them, the more they respond to you, just to try and push you forward more and more and more. And it's not healthy. Okay, um, you can find these people everywhere. Okay, you can find them on social media. Obviously, there are lots and lots and lots of them. You can also find them on forums. You can find them in video games that are, multiplayer video games. You can even find them on support groups like in Slack and Discord and other places. It doesn't matter where you go, wherever there are humans, and more than a very tiny number and that are not like intimately connected to each other in a positive way, you will find bullies. And even sometimes in the intimate communities, there will be bullying, and oftentimes it's because it's a cult. But that's not part of what I wanted to talk about. Um, so basically, I've experienced it myself. I've experienced it in a professional Slack community where I was bullied and actually driven off of the platform. I have experienced it on forums. I've experienced it in video games. I've experienced it on social media. And when I was young, or younger, being 55 now, I often reacted, and that was not good. Um, I would get indignant. I would play the victim. Whatever, I would feel righteous in responding to these people because they were denigrating me. They were attacking me, and they really were not valid most of the time in their accusations and their statements and stuff like that. I recently did a video in which I exposed a company as probably being a scam, and one of the founding members made a derogatory comment on that video. So, yeah. Here's the thing. Point number one. If you are going to say or write things or share things that are controversial in nature, be it on politics or religion or discrimination, you are going to make yourself a target. The more controversial, the bigger the target. Some people are very successful at doing that and turning it to their advantage and making themselves rich. And I don't want to name any names because that'd be very presumptuous of me to just accept what I see and hear on the internet as being fact. There are a lot of opinions out there, but I haven't done any research in order to be able to say for certain this person or that person actually has behaved in that manner, behaved negatively to get attention so that they can get big. But I've heard accusations that such people, that there are such people that are doing that. And I've seen indications that this actually works. And in fact, very large, very influential people who are very controversial will sometimes not care about the media that they attention that they get. It's just so long as they have constant media attention, because that keeps the public focused on them. And a lot of people in the public tend to, if the level of exposure isn't too high, they tend to forget. And some people tend to be very forgiving, and some people are very naive, and some people are very loyal, even to the fault of protecting people who are criminals or defending them. But what can you do? Okay, so obviously you can avoid controversial topics. You can avoid calling out somebody that you've read or heard and saying just, if you're going to critique somebody else's work, do it in a professional, logical, and neutral, unbiased tone. If you are going to go after somebody who's posting stuff that's toxic, you have to be very careful because of the community rules that may exist against such kind of behavior. Even if you are correct in your analysis, you do have to be careful. You might be better off just flagging that person, reporting them to the community owners so that they can deal with it appropriately. Cross-platform posting might be a little bit of an easier thing to deal with because you're talking about somebody on Twitter when you're on YouTube, for example, and that might keep you a little bit safer. But still, if you go after people online, you are going to get flack for it. You're going to get people coming after you. If this person is very famous and they have a large fan base, the ones who are obsessive fans are going to very blindly strike out at you without taking into consideration whether or not what you're saying is true. And this will happen with all kinds of people, even people who have been proven to have been engaging in unscrupulous or even criminal activity will be defended by these blindly loyal people. And unfortunately, there are just some people who place such a high level of esteem on somebody that they're way up on a pedestal that they cannot see the truth, and they don't want to see the truth. So they will come after you with a vengeance. And there are also certain industries where there's a lot of competition, and there's a lot of toxicity. So if you get into the beauty community, you're liable to experience a lot of toxicity. Some of it is driven by competition. Some of it is just driven by other motivations like pettiness. And there will be people who will try to make you feel bad about yourself. They'll say horrible, horrible things about your efforts to look beautiful and stuff like that. And just make sure that you understand by observation of various people within the community that you're interested in becoming a part of. Even if you're not like part of their group, you're entering into that particular industry or domain. Before you do so in a public way, you should make sure to take a look at comments that are being left on people's feeds, in their comment section, to make sure that you're not jumping into a domain where there's a lot of toxicity and destructive competition. That's the first thing that you should do. Number two, if somebody does start going after you in the comments, or worse yet, they start making a video about you or writing articles about you, if it's in the comments, what I would strongly suggest you do is, first of all, I have, on occasion, when I've read something from somebody, I have misunderstood their intent, and then I went back later and read it again. I was like, oh, that is not at all what I thought it was. And it was the mood I was in at that point. Maybe something had triggered me and upset me. But, in essence, I reacted I reacted emotionally and did not grasp the correct intent of the person. So be careful to discern whether or not you are, because of whatever's going on with you, distorting something that somebody's sending to you. Now, obviously, if somebody calls you a fucking bitch and you are so ugly it looks like somebody smashed your face in with a brick, that's obviously somebody who's going after you. But if it's something else, sometimes it's hard to tell, and you can do one of two things if you're not sure. Well, number one, wait until you're calm, and then revisit it. Don't think about it. Find something else to do. Just step away from it physically and emotionally, and then come back to it later when you're completely calm and reread it. If you still feel like it's insulting, then you have the option of either responding to the person and saying, hey, I'm not really sure. It kind of seems like you're kind of being rude here, but I could be misunderstanding because, text being what it is, it's very easy to misunderstand people. Or number two, you could just assume that they are, and then flag that message. So in fact, any message where you are certain that the person is being toxic, is being a bully, is being a troll, or a racist, or whatever it is, the best thing to do is oh shit. Sorry about that, guys. That was not good. I'll have to pick that up later. Just flag them. Let the people who own the community that you're on, whether, whatever it is, let them sort it out. Some communities are going to do something about it, some communities they're not, but at the very least, you can flag them. Now, if the person comes back, comments again, block them. That way, you've reported it to the community, and you're not going to see any more. If you don't want to block them, then just flag them every single time they come after you. Do not respond to them. Okay? Don't say anything sarcastic. Don't go on their page and start blasting them there. Don't defend yourself. Don't do anything other than report and maybe block them. Because when you go after them for going after you, you have now become a part of the problem. Now you may not view it that way, and I never viewed it that way when I was younger. I was always like, hey, if somebody's going to come after me, I'm going to defend myself. But the problem is if the person is really clever, they may make it look like you are the problem. Or they may selectively delete messages, hoping that the moderators won't notice that they actually instigated it, and that will make you look like the bad person. And then you'll get into trouble for that. So it's always best policy is never respond to somebody who's trying to antagonize you and to report them. Okay? Finally, what else? Okay, so the last part of my advice is this. If somebody is coming after you, especially if they're saying horrible, horrible things about you, don't buy into it, which is to say, don't believe it. Don't internalize it. Don't take it personally. I know this is hard to do. I spent a lot of time in my youth feeling miserable because I allowed bullies to have too much influence over my self-image. And there weren't a lot of them, but for whatever psychological reason, instead of focusing on the number of friends I had or the number of people who didn't bother me or who were nice to me or whatever, I focused on the small number of people who were mean to me. And I gave them way too much power over how I felt about myself. And it took a long time to overcome that. And there are still aspects of it to this day, slightly at least, that I feel like I'm still trying to erase. And the truth of the matter is if they're saying stuff that's true about you, and oh, that's true, yeah, I killed somebody. Yep, you're right, I killed somebody. Oh, yeah. But if they are saying, well, just insulting your appearance or stuff like that, these are people who are just they're fishing. Okay. They're just if you're in the beauty community, you will have people who will do this. They'll call you ugly. They'll say your makeup is a failure. They'll say this, that, and the other thing. And they're doing it because they want you to leave the community because they don't want the competition. They may have been hired by somebody for a hit on you, so to speak, to make you feel bad about yourself and leave. They may just be trash people who like to make people miserable. It's you never know, but never put it into your heart. Just say go to hell and in your mind and reject it, and move on. Now, if somebody's making a considered and not abusive comment to you, critiquing something that you've said or done, that's a different story. If they've given you some feedback, you should, maybe give it some consideration and figure out if that's feedback that you need to act on or not. But otherwise, just don't take it to heart. Okay? These are tips that I have mostly figured out on my own. And because there's only so much that you can expect from moderators and stuff, and some moderators are not nice people. They'll take sides with the bullies if they feel. I've had that happen to me. Sometimes you can be misperceived because of your communication style. There are other reasons as well, but the point is that if you don't respond and you don't take it personally and you report these behaviors, you're going to be far safer than if you do anything else. Because put it this way, if you're trying to, I'm just going to use this as an example. I'm not recommending that you do this or anything like that. This is not something that I would do. But say, for example, you were one of those people who didn't like dogs, and you wanted to make a dog really angry. Well, you'd keep on going at it and stuff like that. And the more you aggravated the dog, the more aggravated the dog became and aggressive and stuff. And now, you could use that eventually as an excuse to hurt the dog because you'd say, "Oh, the dog attacked me." Um, that's basically what these people do. They want a response. They want an emotional reaction, especially. Even if you respond dispassionately with logic and facts, they're still going to be happy that they got a response out of you. But if you just ignore them over and over and over and over, they'll get bored and go find somewhere else to try their crap on, somebody else. Okay? So I hope this helps. I hope you'll follow this advice to make your life a lot easier and reduce your mental stress. Thank you very much for watching and hope you have a great day.